You'll pretend what's not there.
What? I don't know. I've forgotten.
That's the best answer.
What are you on about?
You didn't see anything. See what?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. That's what you want to hear when you. Yeah.
When a criminal, a war, guy, or like some gang leader.
Yeah.
Oh, that's scary, man. That's been in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Oh, that's happened to me actually.
No way.
Years ago, I was walking home, and somebody who listens to the show was actually like involved in this. But I can remember I was walking home, and this lady came out of the shop and said, "If you see anyone with a shopping trolley and a load of stuff, can you come and tell us, because they've been stealing from this particular supermarket?" I was like, yeah. And then like 5 minutes later, what do I happen to see? Like these two drunk guys with a shopping trolley full of beer.
Oh my god.
I was like 14, 15, and he just looks at me and says, "Tell anyone and I'll kill you," he said. And I was like, shit, so I just went home.
You were like, okay.
Yeah.
You just went home.
I just happened to be walking past.
It's a shame, innit, man?
Not like it was anything serious, but that was being in the wrong place at the wrong time. I didn't want to be involved. And I didn't go and tell the shop either. I'm going home.
Well, there's no real right thing to do there. I just remember watching Fargo. It's a fantastic television series.
Heard of it.
It's brilliant. They could like see series 1, 2, and 3, and they're not related, but it's great acting, and it's kind of like dark comedy in a way.
Right.
But really, really excellent storytelling, man. Gives it like a lot of peace and time for it to develop. Sort of jam-packed and stuff. Really good storytelling.
Yeah.
And just a random scene. This old couple driving, and they saw this crash. Like somebody was trying to rescue somebody that had been arrested.
Right.
So they made like this bus that was carrying all the prisoners crash, and this a couple just drove past and they saw it. So the people that had crashed the bus were like, "Oh, we've got witnesses." So they got into their car and just started following them. So, you can see the husband and wife, and then the headlights coming up behind them, and they're going, "Oh God," the wife's going, "Oh no." And they go, and then they hit the car, and then the next thing you see their car like upside down.
Oh,
so it's like, they killed witnesses. So imagine that you saw something by accident. You were just walking past and you looked, and then you saw somebody shoot someone.
Yeah.
And you were like, "Oh shit." Like, man, I'm just trying to go for a nice walk here.
Well, I remember this other time. I was somewhere, and anyway, this guy was talking to me, and basically I knew what was going to happen, and then all of a sudden this guy comes up behind him, and I could see he's going to beat the shit out of this guy. So I was working in a little toilet booth at the time, so I just got up and went in the back, and then like 5 seconds later I heard all this smashing and stuff, and I was like, yeah, and I thought, oh my god, I knew he was going to paste him. And I came back in and just looked up, and I was like, "You're right." I was like, "Oh my god, what happened?" And he's like, "You saw that, didn't you? You saw that, you're my witness." I'm like, No, I heard something, but he's like, "What did you think was going on?" I said, "Well, I just thought you were having a play fight, but..." And he's like dripping with blood, and he's like, "You'll be the witness at the police." I was like, "Nah, sorry, I didn't see anything, and I didn't want to get involved." And the police came after, and they said, "What did you see?" And I was like, "Nothing, I just happened to be in the back room just as it was going on, but I knew it was going to happen."
You saw him approaching him or something?
Yeah, he was like, "Oh, he's going to beat him up." So I was like, "Yoink, I'm out of here." And
was the guy talking to you?
Yeah, he was talking to me at the window in this little office I worked in.
Oh, that's a shame, isn't it? Because like, what do you do? There's no getting right or wrong, because
he probably deserved it. I mean, they were a pair of troublemakers, and I used to get all sorts of people talk to me there.
Fair enough.
And I just knew. I thought, "You're getting beat up," and I was like, "Right." Made out I had to go and do something, and then he got beat up. 10 seconds later, I come back. No, me see no evil, and all that. Hear no evil, speak no evil, sort of thing.
Because then the guy, like, if he knows, "Oh, I got a witness," he's going to come and get you.
Yeah,
He
exactly.
might think, "Oh, revenge," or "I'll never forget this."
Yeah.
Come out of prison, you're going to get that guy that dobbed me in.
Now, if it had been a genuine injustice or something, then I think I would have to do the right thing and say, "Yeah, I saw the whole thing," but it was probably over some woman or something, and
and if
leave them to it.
Two drunks and stuff, like whatever.
Leave them to it, sort of thing. Yeah, but that was quick thinking on my part. getting involved. But I often wondered if you were somewhere you weren't meant to be, like you were doing some exploration or something, and you went into somewhere, I don't know, just say for example you got into like Area 51, I'm picking the most extreme example, and you know if they ever know you're in there, you're done. And while you're in there, you see something that you just cannot not report, like maybe they're torturing children in there or something, and now it's like
they'll kill you.
Well, you can't not say anything, but when you do, they're also going to know you've been in Area 51, and it's like, what do you do?
They'd probably let you say it, actually, because then they, be like, well, this guy's mad, obviously. So maybe not Area 51 is the best example there, because, media can easily spin that. Do you mean?
Yeah.
It's like if anyone says, there's that Bob Lazar guy that's come out, and he says, like, he works for Area 51, etc., and he's got, like, a good story, and, a lot of people believe him.
Okay. Say, like, say you're going into your best friend's house and stealing something, right? I don't know, not that either of us would do that.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And when you're in there, you see a gas leak, and you think, oh shit. Now, if I tell them there's a gas leak, they're going to be like, well, how do you know that? You don't come to our house or something, and then you're going to have to be like, oh, well, is that saying?
That's a great example.
What a tangled web we weave when we set out to deceive, or something like that.
Oh, that's a nice rhyme.
Something like that. But yeah, you know what I'm saying. It's like, okay, what are you going to do now?
Well, you'd have to say, like, I smelt it on the outside as I was passing because I went to check on you.
Say they lived in like a mansion and you didn't see him very often, and you hadn't been there in a while.
And you were caught. You're kind of like having to...
That's maybe a bad example, but...
No, these are really good examples, because, you're caught red-handed, but you're admitting that you're kind of, you're forced.
If you say nothing, they could die of a,
Yeah.
from gas. And if you do tell them, they're going to know you've been in the house, so...
What do you do?
Honesty is the best policy, James.
Surely one would think of a more elaborate story and be like...
I'm sure
you wouldn't believe this, and then it would be some weird
I did
story.
a Ouija board and a ghost told me that you've got a gas leak.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. See,
or
we could probably do that, but
Yeah, you would have to say something.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Or somebody
because
was
the
like...
whole point is making them safe. And whatever you were going to do was a bad idea.
Yeah.
But you could easily cover something like that up, I think. You'd be a fool to just sort of... Man, there was this insane story. There's a documentary on Netflix about it. This Florida dude, a husband and wife, quite young, good-looking couple. They must have been in their 30s. Had 2 daughters.
Yeah.
Two young girls. And suddenly, like, the girl went missing. The wife went missing. And this guy was like, he just turned up from work in the morning. He worked nights or whatever. He came home early, like 8 a.m. And he was like, oh my God, she hasn't turned up, and like her phone and her bag's here and everything. So automatically it was like, well, she's obviously been like kidnapped, because her bag and her phone. But where does anyone go? And especially a woman leaving the house without modern day, right? Everyone's leaves with their phone anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so it's like, what, does someone break into the house? So I kind of don't want to spoil what happens. It's an insane story, but I'm gonna have to anyway. Right. Do you want me to?
Yeah.
Well,
I'll watch it anyway. But
he was well, he was acting. It was strange. I don't want to spoil it. I can't.
I probably won't even watch it.
Okay, well, he ended up killing the wife.
Oh, okay.
And the kids.
Right.
And it's almost like he killed them, and then came back and was just like, and didn't leave the house in a mess. There was no story.
Right.
His idea was, oh, I just come back and I don't know where they are.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is insane. Like, it was just not thought out at all. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If somebody's... And there, he was stable-minded, had a good job, and you would have thought, for a criminal, if somebody's going to commit murder, and he hid the bodies in, like, an oil tanker and all this stuff where he worked.
Right.
Real, like, kind of evil, and, like, you can't really think of things like that. It was going to all that work.
Yeah.
He murdered the kid in front of the other kid. And after transporting the mother with the kids in the back, they were like, "What's wrong with mum?" and blah blah,
Yeah.
And then he killed both of them, like 5-year-old, 6-year-old, or something like that.
Crikey.
This guy's like in his 30s, a normal dude. Obviously, a lot of pent-up anger and all that, but let's not sort of dissect that. But the point being, him committing a crime like that and not covering his tracks or not thinking of a good enough story. You know, that would be the logical thing to do. But like, I mean, no one listened to this, or you know, me or you, who was ever capable of committing, you know, atrocity like that. You know what I mean?
We would never do that.
But so I'm not saying, you know, I'm not trying to like justify what he did.
No.
But I'm saying, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, you don't.
Why wasn't? Surely he would have thought, oh, okay, this is what I'm going to have to do. This is what I'm going to have to say. Instead, he just said nothing. He was just like, I don't know. I don't know what happened. I don't know why your phone's here and why the bag's there. I don't know where the kids are gone.
Well, I've always wondered that if you were caught up in something like that and you were guilty, what happened if you just said nothing? Like, even in the interview room. Like, do you understand? No. And just left it at that. I mean, I've always wondered how that would work in your defence. But that kind of reminds me of... Do you remember the Lord Lucan case? That was quite interesting.
Don't think so.
Yeah. It was on... I've known about him for years, but it was on the Howard Hughes Unexplained podcast. And basically, what happened was he was this rich guy. He was a big gambler. He was living off inherited wealth. He was basically an aristocrat, but living in the 1970s. He was in the wrong generation. But he... what happened was somebody had gone to his house and they'd found the nanny dead. He wasn't there. His wife heard a noise. Went downstairs in the London apartment. The nanny's dead. Lord Lucan disappears. They never saw him again. I think this was like late 70s. Maybe it was the early 80s. And what all they think happened is it was a case of mistaken identity. So he had tried to have his wife killed. This is the main theory. Either by a hitman or him, and they got the wrong person, and then they fled, and then it would come to light what he basically tried to do, and the only alternative was just to disappear, and they've never seen him since. And there's all these theories that he committed suicide and jumped off the boat. Some people think he went to Argentina. His wife says, though, that was meant for me, because there was a court case going on over the children. It wasn't good between them at all. She reckons that was for me, and the nanny went down to make the tea in the cellar, bam, wrong person, shit, panic. So it wasn't really, she said it wasn't thought out properly, it was all rushed and put together, there was no backup plan, it just went wrong, and the only thing you can do is go, you know, and she reckons he probably had contacts and people that could have got him out there just like that, but it's really interesting.
He was rich.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
And he's never been found.
They never found him.
You told me about this guy, and I did look for him, and it's like died unknown or something. It's just like,
yeah,
you know,
the Lord Lucan mystery. But yeah, I've heard his wife in an interview, and she reckons it was him, I think, but she couldn't see the person. I don't know if she actually saw the person or if they were covered up or something, but no, she just said they heard this terrible noise, went down there, she's dead, Lord Lucan never shows up again. She's thinking, yeah, it went horribly wrong, and he had no option but to go. Fascinating story. When you hear the thing being told on the podcast, it's really interesting. But he'd probably be dead now anyway.
Well, it's so people have got to think of like a proper backup story.
Yeah.
And they need like something like fully planned. There's like this husband and wife, and supposedly their IQs are pretty high, for both of them, right? But they just kind of both suffer from mental illness, but it's basically high IQ.
Yeah.
And this guy ended up dying. He went to his grave without admitting it and without being convicted that everyone believed his story.
Right.
And it came to light that he did actually commit these murders.
Right.
But then he had the police walking around his house, and he was chatting to him, going, "Oh my God, this happened," and blah blah.
Yeah. And
he just convinced everybody just because of the way he'd thought it out so well. And there were like 3 people involved. They ended up getting one of their friends to rob a bank, or convinced him to rob a bank, made a gun out of a walking stick, right? So the guy went in with a gun and a walking stick, and it was an older guy, and they tied a bomb around his neck, like as a collar, and you could see it sticking out. It was massive.
Huh.
You know, it's really sticking out all the way around.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they convinced this guy, but obviously the bank robbing didn't work. He went to leave, and then suddenly he's on the ground, and there's police cars around him. He's going, "There's a bomb around my neck." So then suddenly everyone's surrounding him, like you know, there's a radius sort of distance around him.
Yeah.
And he's going, "Man!" And then this thing starts beeping, and it
God.
fucking explodes,
Yeah.
and kills him. You know, and he was there for like, I don't know, 6 or like 8 hours, just going, "Guys, this is a bomb.
Yeah.
But the bomb experts took too long to get to him and all this stuff.
Shit.
So the guy who ended up dying and convincing him, he's the guy who made the bomb.
Yeah.
So them saying like a high IQ and everything like that, it's because he managed to outsmart everybody. He managed to convince somebody to wear a bomb necklace. And so he thought that out. I've heard like a lot of murderers like talking. Is it I can't think of their big names, right?
Yeah.
I better not say anything because they'd be completely wrong.
Yeah.
But he's saying like
Don't get that wrong.
The worst like the biggest fear for like a murderer or a serial killer is being caught. So it's kind of like, because it can go any way. So I think anything that you have planned, it doesn't matter. You could easily leave fingerprints somewhere, right? And
yeah. Fibers of your clothes, or
Yeah.
hair, or skin, or these days it's hard to get away with murder. But like 100 years ago, it must have been so easy. I don't like that guy. He's in the river tonight, and never seen him again. I don't know. Now though, it's a lot harder. But
I wonder if there were more murders back then because of it.
I think because the population's just increased, it's probably more now because of that. But yeah, I mean, surely, if you could get away with it and you wanted to murder
People
somebody,
would more likely do it.
I would have thought so.
It would be easier to commit a crime, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Just dispose of the body, and it'll just go down as one of those mysteries. Now though, you don't get away with much.
There are some serial killers when they're being interviewed are saying they're in prison for murder for life now.
Yeah.
And they're saying like how easy it is to get away. That's why they keep doing it and keep doing it.
There was one. Have you heard of Dennis Rader? He's an interesting one. You can actually watch the whole court case on YouTube. And he was actually a pastor, and he also worked for a security company installing burglar alarms in homes. So he knew who lived where, and
Wow.
So he talks you through it all, like how he would watch the victim, and he would find one, and then he would follow them and watch them for a few days, and then he would break into the house when they weren't there, and they'd come home, and he'd tie them up and do all this kinky stuff to them, and then murder them. But it's funny because at the beginning of the case, the judge is reading out all of the convictions, and he's like, this one, and this one, and this one, and blah blah blah, and there's like 20 of them, and then he's like, sounds about right, yeah, he says like that, like just say matter of fact, and he talks you through each one, what he did, but amazing. And he would leave clues for the police, like in library books and things.
They do that. I've noticed a lot of there's a Zodiac killer and people like leaving clues.
Yeah.
Because it's like a game of intelligence then, isn't it? That's part of the thrill. And the media spin, it's the attention, it's like leaving clues. So what clues did this guy leave?
I think it was in library books. He would say, go to the library and take out this book, and he'd put something in the page. But what gave him away eventually was he used a floppy disk with a clue on it, and one of the forensics guys, the IT buffs, just went into it and looked at like the HTML code, but of like the document, and it was something like put together by blah 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 pastor at so and so church, and they're like, oh, okay, we know where that's come from, and that was it.
Oh man, it's like I bet he's kicking himself, right? There's the Unabomber. Don't know if you've heard about him.
No.
He was sort of anti-establishment, and he went to, he was promoted in school quick, and he got to university like like Oxford equivalent in America.
Right.
So he was considered like real clever kind of guy, and he was making bombs himself. So he had a little shack in the woods. Like a shed, literally just one room, like a shed.
Right.
And he would make these bombs himself and send them out and things like that. And the thing that gave him away was he wrote a book saying what needs to be done. Because he was sending it to like bankers and people who were part of the system, part of the establishment that he wanted to send a message to. So it was really evil, and they were like in books. He'd like hollow out a book and send them a book in like posts, like DPD or whatever. So they'd open the book and the bomb would go off in their face.
Oh man.
So I think he might have killed like one person because a lot of he tried to blow up an airplane based on like the altitude. He put a bomb and but it went off, but it just wasn't big enough. So bomb experts were saying like he's getting better and better, but he's not too good. This is obviously an amateur sort of bomb maker,
right,
making these sort of things. And he ended up writing his tone of voice when he wrote this book was similar to a letter he'd sent his brother and his brother's wife, so the Unabomber's sister-in-law, kind of like gathered from the tone of this personal letter, where he was like, oh, people have done this to me, people have done that, and like the way there were a few words and then a full stop, and then sentences were short and blunt and very, really powerful, aggressive. And then he sent this book to the media and was like, if you print this, then I'll stop killing people or something like that. There was a condition. Right. So they ended up printing this book in this American newspaper. They printed like his whole book of instructions about how to take down the system or something, whatever it was. And based on the tone of voice, like the sister-in-law was like, this is really similar. And they were going, oh my God, I think it's your brother. She was saying to this guy, and it was like, no way. And they were like, well, he lives out in a shack on his own. He is a bit strange. And then they kind of like, it started to unravel then, and then suddenly they were surrounding him, and bam, they got him. So do you mean like he gave, and he was being as clever as he is?
Yeah.
On hindsight, like people like that would look and be like, damn it, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the rest of your life.
So he's like on YouTube, like these. You can, it was on Netflix as well, this guy talking about it, but it's fascinating, man.
Yeah. I saw one recently on Netflix, and it was called, it was kind of funny, because my dad said, oh, you want to watch this, I think it's called Murder Among the Mormons, and it was kind of funny, because I just had Mormons at my house that day, and I was like, oh, that's kind of funny, and, but it's like a true story about this guy, I forget his name, but he was like the best forger in all of time, and, basically what he'd done was he there was this document called the Salamander Letter or something, and I won't go into the details of it too much, but it was about the first vision that Joseph Smith had when he founded the church, and this was giving like a different account of it, which contradicted what's in the Book of Mormon, and it would basically undermine the entire faith if it got out. And so basically he forged it didn't exist. But it was so authentic that the church even acknowledged that it was a real letter, by Martin Harris, he was like one of the guys that worked with Joseph Smith to record the plates and all that. Anyway, people started getting bombs like through the post and stuff, because the church did not want this letter going out because it could be so detrimental to the faith, and people started being killed with bombs and stuff, and like it was like they didn't want it going on. I forget the whole story, but eventually they led it back to this guy. He was the one that was doing it, but everyone just thought he was a member of the church who liked to deal in documents and stuff, and he would go and find these amazing documents and sell them to the church, and the church acknowledged this is genuine, and then they even went to like archaeologists and these forensic experts who looked at it, every last detail, like the ink and everything, and they said, yeah, it's genuine. It wasn't. He was such an excellent forger at what he did that he fooled everyone. Eventually it caught up with him, and he's in jail now, but God, he was good at what he did.
It's fascinating, these stories, man. Like, we're like really interested in them as human beings, isn't it? Like that kind of anti-establishment super intelligence where they sort of outsmart the authorities. It's really interesting. Great. It's one of my favourite movies, man, and true story is Catch Me If You Can.
I've never seen that.
Oh man, I'm sure you would like.
No, I keep meaning to watch it, but I've never seen it.
Oh Jim, I must have seen it like maybe like 10 times or something. So Leonardo DiCaprio stars in it. So it doesn't matter, but I can't remember the guy's actual name. But yeah, he pretends to be like a pilot, pretends to be a doctor,
right?
Pretends to be a teacher,
right?
And he just forges these medical certificates and like irons them off, proper things and proper stamps, and
right.
Rings up and gets uniform sent, or I've forgotten my uniform, blah blah, and he just makes it up. The movie does an excellent portrayal of it. And yeah, he just ended up forging checks. That's what he ended up doing.
Right.
Originally. So that he works for the CIA now, this guy. Who was in prison, but they needed a guy to help them with some counterfeit money, like in the 70s and 80s when it was just become more widespread.
Yeah.
So they hired him. This guy just completely, was complete fraud, but he kind of hijacked the system.
I'm going to have to watch it. Because I keep seeing it all over the place, and I think one day I'm going to watch it.
Oh, you've got to watch it. Catch Me If You Can. It's fantastic, man.
Yeah, it looks good.
Oh, Abagnale. That's the surname, Abagnale.
Is it a true story?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this guy's still alive now, working for the CIA.
I see. I thought you meant like in the film. But...
No, man.
Okay.
The film's like an accurate portrayal,
Yeah.
and there's a free interview on YouTube with this Abagnale character of him talking about like what he did and stuff.
Wow.
And like you read the biography of him, and it's very similar to what's told in the movie.
Yeah.
Because the movie, it's a good enough actual, but it's a good enough real life story. You don't have to make up anything.
No. Did you ever see the clip of the guy? He'd escaped jail, and the policeman actually pulls him over, and he's like, "You look like someone on the run."
Oh my God.
And he ends up letting him go, and he's like, "No, I'm just going for a run. I'm working down the road," and he fools him.
He gets pulled over.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. What is that from? I've seen it.
It's just like a clip on YouTube, but they caught him on the dash cam, and the cop pulls him over, and he's like, "Can I just have a word for a sec?" He's like, yeah, sure. He's like, "We're looking for somebody," and he looked like him, and it was actually him. He was escaping prison, and in the end, the cop's like, "Hey, man, you have a good day, and he just lets him go.
Oh God, you'd be so embarrassed to be in that cop, wouldn't you? There goes your promotion or whatever. But no, it's murderers. It's one of these like murderers again, and it said like he was pulled over by the police. He goes, "I had the murder weapon like under my seat, like several guns, and a body in the boot or something." And one of these, he would kidnap like these young female students. This one guy, he ended up murdering his mother and things like that. That was his last murder, and then he dobbed himself in.
Right.
But he said on the lead up to this, he killed like 20 young students, kind of across different states in the US. And the cops came and they searched his house and things like that, related to something else, or a suspicion about him or something. And he had like in his cupboard was a box with all like the jewelry from his victims and like their notebooks from uni. And he goes, all they had to do was open the cupboard and they would have seen everything right there.
Yeah.
And they searched his car, and he asked one of the cops like the question. He goes, "Oh, what kind of gun are you looking for?" And they said, and then in his mind he goes, "Okay, well I know where that gun is." Then he asked them objective questions to get the answer, so he knew how to sort of lead them in the opposite direction when they were inquiring about him. But he was like, when he was pulled over, they were looking for a murderer, and they were speaking to him.
Yeah.
And he had the murder weapons in his car and like in his boot, and bloodstains in the boot. And he was saying like, it would have been so easy for them to catch me. So we get, and that's when they're saying, there's so many other criminals out there, like so these are so easy to get away with, like all these murderers on the run and these murders that don't get reported.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's like that now. I don't know. We can't trust the media with anything anyway.
No.
So
that sounds like I'm sure it's not, but there was a guy called Jeffrey Dahmer, I think.
Yes, it's him, and I was going to say goddamn Epstein before.
Right.
And then there's Charles or Charlie something, like Dahmer. No,
okay.
What did you say, Jeffrey Dahmer?
I think it's Jeffrey. Yeah.
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah.
So originally I thought Jeffrey,
the cannibal guy.
Yeah. He ended up
Yeah, he went after young guys, didn't he?
Oh no, that's a different dude. Yeah, but no, it's the same.
One of them one of them escaped, and he actually went out, and the police were there.
Yeah.
And he's like, "It's all right, he's staying with me," and they actually like brought him back to his flat.
That was like a young black
kid,
like 15 years old, and he used to like get the gay guys to his house because he was a homosexual. And then
did you watch the interview? The whole interview?
I'm not sure if I watched the whole interview.
Where he's talking, he's revealing all. It's fascinating. It's fascinating to have somebody who's that candid about themselves and what their motivations are and why he wanted to do it. And
because they're open and honest. They're dissecting themselves, and they're going like, a lot of them are going like, I'm a complete monster. And blah, blah.
I mean, he's screwed now. He's in prison forever, So he got murdered in prison, though, didn't he?
Oh, did he?
They killed him. He was only about our age, I think.
Frank Abagnale.
I don't know that name.
No, he's not a murderer. That's the Catch Me If You Can guy.
Oh, okay.
I can't remember his first name.
Okay.
Names are coming back to me slowly
as
my brain, relaxes or something.
The Ripper, the Yorkshire Ripper. No, what was it? The Ripper.
Yeah, it is Yorkshire Ripper, isn't it?
The Yorkshire Ripper. They never caught him, did they? In the end, they still don't know. Because my friend said, she's reading a book about all the female victims, and it was a book about the women he killed. And I looked into him, and they never actually found him.
Really?
Yeah, they never found out who he was.
Oh my god.
That's lucky.
That's an unknown
for him, but
mystery.
Yeah. They never knew, and I guess that does happen sometimes. Yeah. Same as like...
Kind of worrying, that, isn't it? Because are they still in society then? They just decided not to kill.
I suppose. Well, yeah. I mean, you don't know, do you?
There's this media sort of questioning this. I remember in Liverpool when these two kids murdered these two kids. These two kids murdered that baby, or that child.
Yes.
Remember,
James Bulger or Volger or something.
Yeah, Bulger. So they were like 9 and 10 years old. Yeah, that was definitely a Sun headline, wasn't it? Bulger or something.
Probably was.
Yeah,
it probably was. I wasn't thinking of that, but it probably was. Yeah,
it's definitely like a rhyming, catchy headline. The Bulger.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
So him and his friend, like 9 and 10 years old, ended up kidnapping this 3 or 4-year-old.
Yeah.
And then they got the CCTV footage in the shopping centre in Liverpool.
Yeah.
They took him to railway tracks, didn't they? And they put lemon stones in his mouth and like beat him with all this stuff and concrete blocks, and then let the train run over him or something like that.
Yeah.
So they're in prison now. And I think like their parole or something is coming up, and there's like so they're gonna have to be given new identities, and there's this question of whether they should be let out or not.
Yeah.
I remember watching it only like a few months ago. They were talking about it, because it was a current news documentary sort of thing. So I don't know what conclusion. But if they do, it's going to be undercover anyway, so it's not going to be announced, is it? Like,
no.
These people are out of prison.
No. But it always gets found out somehow.
Because there was protests, with them even considering it. A lot of people.
Yeah.
So they should be there for life, and.
Yeah.
And there's this it's actually Piers Morgan interviews psycho.
I've seen that one. I know the one you're about.
Psychopath.
Yeah.
So he's bald.
Yeah.
He's
kills
got
his sister,
glasses. Kills his younger sister.
Yeah.
So he's like 7 years old and kills his younger sister to get back at his mum.
Yeah.
And his mum seems like a real lovely mum. Just like got 2 kids and sort of struggling as a single mum kind of thing. So I'm peering over the edge there.
No.
We're recording live in the Exchange, public pub in Newtown. And that was a fascinating interview, wasn't it?
It was.
Psychopath.
They always are. The ice pick murderer. He's one that's worth looking at as well.
The ice pick murderer. It's not the Iceman.
Could be.
Where he was like a hitman.
Yeah. Oh, it could be Iceman, was it?
Yeah, the Iceman,
because he used to put them in the freezer or something, didn't he?
Yeah, there's like a 2.5 hour documentary on YouTube about him.
That's the one.
And he's being interviewed in prison at the moment, and he starts crying near the end, and he's going like.
There's one he doesn't want to go.
Doesn't want to cry in, yeah.
Yeah.
And that's fascinating, man. And he was like, I don't want to show any remorse or sorrow, but he let his family down, and that's the only thing that's ever gotten to him.
Yeah.
So that lack of empathy, lack of emotion, that's what's considered a psychopath, isn't it? So that's why they don't want to let this guy go in that killed his he's in his 30s now, isn't he? And he killed, when he was 7, he killed his younger sister. Because they're saying like he will say anything, and they're asking him questions, and he's saying, I feel really bad for doing this and that, but they're saying like there's no body language, there's no watery eyes, there's nothing, there's no sympathy at all. It's just words.
Yeah.
So saying that's what a psychopath is, that they lack that bit in the brain linked to like actual emotion and empathy for somebody else.
Yeah.
So saying like he could easily do it again.
But they can usually go through the motions, I think, and put it on and fool people. I think. But yeah,
Or try to anyway.
Yeah, maybe if you're pretty intuitive, you could see through it. A lot of people get fooled by them, but. So yeah.
Well, they were experts studying him.
Yeah.
They were experts, like psychologists, like studying this guy, the psychopath, who was saying, I feel really guilty and I'm ashamed of what I did, blah blah.
Yeah.
Who knows, man? You do get body language experts and people like that, and sometimes when there was Bob Lazar, like we make a full circle, talk about Bob Lazar at the beginning. I think it was the same interview, wasn't it? Brought up Bob Lazar. Yeah.
Yeah.
For people who believe other people.
Yeah.
Like, who do you believe, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Like if somebody broke into Area 51, supposed to be Bob Lazar worked there. There's these body language experts like analysing Bob Lazar's interview.
Right.
I think it was on the Joe Rogan podcast and other podcasts. And they're the like five of the world famous body language experts. And they all came to the conclusion that he's lying.
Oh.
And I was like really disappointed in that. and it made me not want to actually listen to them again because that wasn't the outcome.
I don't want that to be the case.
I wanted it, so I was like, I'm not fans of these anymore. I'm not a fan of the truth anymore.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it?
What, me?
Yeah, like
not liking it
your bias being so powerful that.
Yeah, but no, I'm kind of like joking about it.
No, but that's what you've actually felt. We can laugh about it, but
yeah, that's what I kind of felt. I was like, God damn it, man! I was hoping that they were going to go, because it's a big deal.
Yeah.
He was saying he's seen alien technology and this and that.
Yeah.
And especially now with the Pentagon coming out and saying that these are UFOs. They call them UAEs or something now, isn't it? It's not UAE, it's UEA.
I know what you mean. Yeah. But then some people would say, oh, well, they're just saying that to cover up, they're part of the establishment or something.
Yeah. And there are, I went through all the comments, people going, saying that. Of course, you've got to say that, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to tell, isn't it? I think but because they all came to the same conclusion, there were 5 of them. They were you can tell with the way he stalls and the story, it's a bit different every time.
Yeah.
But then again, man, people are so complicated. People are enormously complex, and he's told this story over and over again. It's not just first time interview, bam, here's a microphone. He's been told he's been a liar his entire life, and now he's gotten popular about it, and he's telling the same story again.
Yeah.
Then suppose he does forget, and he has headaches when he's talking about it, and he goes, "Oh, I can't talk anymore. I've got a headache." So you're like, "Come on, man, get it out."
Yeah. Yeah, there's one that's worth watching. I can't think of what he's called, but I think back in the 80s it was, and there was a murder at some farm, and these 5 guys went to jail for it. But they reckon this other guy had done it. And they go into his history, and he had been caught with a shotgun and had a record for burglary. So they were kind of like, And he worked at the police station. He wasn't a police officer, but he was actually working at on the desk or something. Anyway, what happened was this young boy got killed at this farmhouse. He was a paper boy. And so these 5 guys went down for it because they said they were doing a burglary and they killed him. But a lot of people are saying, no, it was him. It was this guy that worked in the police station. And when you see him on the show, he just has guilt written all over him. Just body language. And what they reckon happened was, because they were like, you were seen around the same time in your car, around the same time as the murderer, car like yours with a man like you. He's like, no, I was working. I wasn't anything to do with it. Because they can't prove he was. And his daughter reckons what had happened was, he'd actually gone to the house to do something, and he'd seen the paperboy and thought, shit, and the paperboy had seen him, so he killed the paperboy and fled from there. And these other guys went down for it. But when you watch him throughout the whole documentary, because he does a one-on-one interview about it, it's just like, And his daughter says, I think that's my theory that that's what's happened. He said he'd either gone there to do something he shouldn't have been doing, and Paperboy had seen him and he killed him, or he'd gone there and witnessed it, and either way something in him died that day because he's never been the same. But as soon as he gets to his house to do the interview, he's like, hello, come in, you're welcome in our house anytime, and he's trying to be he's overly nice, but he looks, I'll tell you what, it reminds me of that John Lennon song, Crippled Inside. One thing you can't hide is when you're crippled inside. And you look at him and you think, yeah, something in you's crippled, man. And
does he look shifty?
Yeah, very, very. You just would not.
So with their eyes going, and
it's like his whole life he's been trying to hide something.
There's an awesome game by Rockstar, Rockstar Computer Games. The game developers, they're the guys who make GTA.
Yeah.
And Red Dead Redemption. So huge open world games. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fantastic game developers and so in depth with their game production. There's a game they made called L.A. Noire.
I know it. I used to have it.
So you're kind of you're the investigator, you're the detective, aren't you? In the 80s, I think. Is it?
Back in the 50s, I think.
50s, isn't it? Yeah.
40s, maybe.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm really. It must be 50s, man.
Pretty old, isn't it? Like the old CIA with hats and suits.
That's it. Yeah. And when Hollywood's just beginning and there's all corruption and things like that.
Yeah.
And so you're having to study. Because it's all based on facial muscles and things like that. That game, they've put a lot of emphasis. One of the first games actually that's put real emphasis on facial muscles, and because you're looking at this person, like interviewing her, this old lady, like, so, where was your husband? And she's like, I'm not sure where he was yesterday. And she's looking, and you go, okay, X is like lying. Obviously. So,
then he goes,
yeah, and then you get a score at the end, which I got really annoyed at, because how can... I thought the game would change based on now I got it wrong, so then they got away. But you're scored if you didn't, get them exactly as. Maybe I'm just bad at reading it. Maybe I'm just bad at reading. Did you play that game?
Yeah, I didn't do the whole game, but yeah, I did.
Like some of them are, it's obvious that this guy was on his way to work at the, and he saw something and he came across it. So there's three options, isn't it? He's lying.
Yeah.
He's telling the truth, or it's a bit suspicious. So you've got to get. There's only one correct answer. So at the end you get scored. But some of the time it's like, well, that is a bit suspicious, because in your mind there's so many different possibilities.
Yeah.
So you think, maybe that is a bit, and then you do that because it's like wrong. Come on.
Yes.
That is a possibility. Just because I'm not in the same mind as the story writers.
Yeah, that's the trouble, isn't it?
I got really annoyed with that game, where I was I go, well, how can you say that I'm wrong being a player of that?
Yeah.
Because
it's based on the actual truth that the writer came up with, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's like the hazard perception on your driving test.
Yeah.
Obviously, you can't do it too many times, or then you're cheating. But it's like, okay, I'm watching this camera go along with the car. Click when you see a hazard. All right, a kid on a bike, obviously, coming along. And then, but for me, it would be like bird in the sky.
I was going to say a bird, like a bird, a crow lands on a branch. You go, that's a hazard.
It doesn't count. But for me, it's kind of like, it's a bit distracting. It's like maybe it's going to fucking crash into the windscreen. Hazard, no. What constitutes a genuine hazard?
Killer bird. This sort of is after you, Jim. There he is, in behind that piece of glass.
Yeah. So it's the obvious things that would count. But for me, I
know what you mean. Because if you start to question everything, you're sort of like, well, that's right for you. But I might, in my own perception, because how can you determine? I'm not a robot. How can you say I'm programmed the same way to perceive a hazard the exact same way you will?
So, like someone stopping at a zebra crossing, but somebody I don't know, an old lady who's just walking down the path, no. But I'd be like, well, hazard, because she could suddenly go like,
wouldn't it be a younger person? Well, she could have a heart attack and fall on the floor.
Yeah.
And you go, oh my god, and you turn your head.
Yeah.
And then you crash.
Yeah. So where do you draw the line?
Oh god, I've heard a few people crash in their car doing this, trying to avoid a cat is one of them.
Oh, a cat.
But somebody pulling down their the sun protector or whatever for the eyes, whatever you want to call it, the visor, and they pull it down and a spider falls. And people have told me they had completely went off the road, written off their car, crashed into another car because of things like that.
Yeah.
That should be part of the goddamn hazard perception.
Yeah.
Suddenly a spider should drop out of somewhere and they go, ah!
Yes.
Like treble clicking the mouse.
Yeah.
Or right click and exit.
Or a pretty lady walks past in a dress.
Yeah. The woman in the red dress, like the Matrix.
Yeah.
You go, oh my god, I'm happy. I'll die now.
I've had the spider thing actually happen to me.
You kidding me?
No, going down. I'll tell you exactly where I was. I was going down. I don't know what the road's called. Like from the college back into town. You go under
Lanny
the bridge.
Road?
Yeah, just going under the bridge. I had to pull in at the little bus stop by the traffic lights because across the dashboard, this huge spider just went like that, and I was like, "Fuck!"
Oh my god, man!
So I pulled in and I got out and I was like, "Right, where is it?" I actually called my dad's mate because he lives right near there, and I'm like, "Will you come and get this spider out the car?" So he shows up and then it disappeared, and I'm like, "Oh no!" But eventually we found it, so I can't drive with that in there.
When I picked my mum up, right, and we were going to Australia, man. So we left the house at 2 a.m, going to Birmingham airport for the flight at 8 or 9 a.m, whatever.
Yeah.
And as we were driving along, it's like, yeah, get in the car, everyone's tired, whatever, just stay quiet, don't want any music on, just freaking, let's just get there. And we were driving along, and I'm driving. And this spider appears, on the door.
Oh.
And I'm just sort of like, I sort of pull over. Mum's going, oh, have you forgotten something? I'm going, yep, because I don't want to go, oh god, there's a spider, because she'll have a heart attack. And your mum will go, mum will freak out.
Was it a big one? Yeah.
Fairly big, a brown one, sort of harvest spider is what they call them, so fairly big kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I saw it, and I just opened the door and I kind of got rid of it and stuff. But that was whilst I was driving, I wound the window down and I was trying to deal with it with the window open sort of thing. But I managed to get rid of it after I pulled over and stuff. But
did you tell her after what was going on?
I think Nia went further along down the road. I was like, that was a spider, by the way, you know, but on the door.
By the way.
She was like, oh, I'm so glad you didn't say anything. And I'm going, yeah, this is why. And when we were in Australia, probably it might have been like, yeah, you check it now. When I go home, I'm checking everywhere anyway. This time of year, October, right? I'm checking everywhere.
Yeah.
So I'm hearing everyone's having seeing these bloody spiders everywhere.
I've had a couple. Yeah, I know.
It's only a matter of time, surely.
Yep.
But actually, in Australia, we packed under this tree and we went to see this outdoor event with my sister and everybody. So we got back in, and you know, it was warm and everything. Australia, I got night. It was like sort of 9 p.m. Got in the car, got my sister's car, I sat in the back, and then all of a sudden, we were driving down, and my sister just went really quiet, and she'd seen a massive huntsman spider.
Oh God.
Sort of on the windscreen, and because we were driving fast, it kind of went up, and she didn't know where it was, if it was in the car or not. And she was like, if I say anything, there's like 2, you know, young girls, or you know, her daughters in the car, my mum and her driving, you know, and I'm not good with spiders, but like, you know, I would try and, you know, kill it with fire, you know, of course, and close by weapons, rocks, trash the car, like.
Yeah.
So she didn't want to say anything.
Right.
So she was just like, okay, I think it's, she just assumed that it's gone. So it was like a 10-minute drive. And when we got home, she pulled into the driveway and she goes, okay, I'm not sure where it is, but there was a spider. She goes, I think it's outside. So then everyone's kind of like stuck in the car. Like, what do we do sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man, I don't think we found out what happened. It was just everyone kind of got out the car and like, you know, went up, and then we didn't know once he saw it. But it was just one of those things where it was like, saw it like as she was driving, because it had fallen off the tree that she packed under, kind of thing. And like, what do you do? Because you don't want to freak out the other person.
No. I'd have rung someone in the house and said, before we get out, come and look on the car, you know. Oh my word. Yeah, you don't want to freak them out. So
no, because it's funny, like when you notice something and nobody at that other person doesn't.
Yes.
And you think, oh well, I'm not going to make their life any better. I'm not going to even protect them by saying this. No. I'm just going to try and stay.
Panic makes everything worse.
Yeah, and you don't want somebody else panicking, do you?
No. If you want to survive the situation, you're better off being calm, even if it is something that could kill you. You know.
Yeah. You're gonna think clear. But you know, like a spider's not going to kill you. You say, and then.
But a huntsman, like in Australia, would be quite brutal, wouldn't it?
No, they're the common house spiders, man, and they're gigantic. But they're
not poisonous.
No, they're not poisonous, man. But they're just huge.
Still wouldn't want it on you, would you?
Like easily the size of your hand, stretched out. Oh, massive beasts, man, bigger than my hand.
Yeah, couldn't be doing with that.
Goddamn common. So, you know, that's a kind of a powerful position to be in, isn't it? Not just spiders, but, you know, if spiders are a common one, if you notice something somewhere, you know, you don't want to freak the other person out. It might just be better for you to go, okay, just move over here a second. You know, say there was somebody, you know, you would get back to witness, like you seeing that guy in the toilet when you were working, and that danger was going to come up behind him. Like, you know, if it was like a friend, like say it was me and I was chatting to you and somebody came up behind me.
Yeah, I'd have been like, James,
but fucking
get in here
something
quick or something. Behind you, A couple of years ago, I'd gone to this like a carol service in an old church, and there was some people sitting in front of me on the pew in front of me, and it was kind of funny. There was like a spider on the pew, and I wasn't bored, but I was sort of like, I can't remember. I got something, and I was just sort of helping it up a bit, like. It was trying to get up, you know, and I went like that, and then it kind of just went on this guy's back, and like that, I was like, oh fuck, and then my mates saw as well, and I think they thought I was doing it on purpose, you know, and it disappeared up on him. I'm like, I'll just sit here now, and he didn't even notice, it just went down there. But and then years ago, I remember years and years ago, we were at this nursing home, and my little brother spotted a spider on this old man's head.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and my dad, he's like, he's got a spider on his head. Should I tell him? And we just said no, just leave him. Like, and it was huge, but like on him, you know.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
God, man.
Yeah. He didn't even know, but he probably would have. I don't know. Probably give him a heart attack.
Do you care at that age?
Yeah, he didn't look well anyway, and so we just said leave it. What's not seen, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's really funny, man. But I was thinking about like a wasp. You know, when somebody sees, like, somebody's talking to you and there's a wasp kind of buzzing around their ear, or a bee or something, and it's like, well, don't antagonise it, or, you know, like, attack you or whatever.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you're noticing that, like, and you're talking to someone and they haven't seen it, it's kind of like, you don't want to go, there's a wasp next to you.
No.
Or like, there's a wasp, because immediately they're going to freak out. Even if you said it calmly, there's a wasp by your ear, they're gonna,
well, there's a spider on you.
Yeah, they're going to freak out. But if you're sort of watching it, and a lot of the time they'll kind of buzz and it'll, especially, you know, summer's being, you know, I'm speaking to people outside, I'm seeing that a lot, actually. I'm seeing kind of things coming over. You know, and it's a lot, sometimes it's best just to kind of like let it go, like because it won't attack, isn't it?
No, it often just goes away.
Yeah.
Yeah, but wasps will also sting you for nothing, because they have done that to me. But
my
but
friend,
it's rare. They usually won't.
What do you think? Like one of the nurses in the nursing home would have done if they'd seen the spider on this gentleman's head? Do you think they would have tried to whack it?
I don't think they'd whack it. They'd probably gently
with like a cushion.
Smack
this guy with
they'd probably just gently removed it and said, "Oh, you got a bit of fluff or something. Come here, you know."
Whilst
like that.
remaining like incredibly calm. Nurses are like super people. They're like superhuman.
Oh
yeah,
so. Yeah. I don't know.
Carers are super people.
The wasp thing though, I bought this moisturiser a while ago, and it's got like just like vitamin C in it, and it's grapefruit scented.
Hair wash.
Moisturiser. I was like, oh, that's quite nice, and I put it on, and then like all these like wasps and stuff kept coming near me. I was like, what's going on? And then I realised, like, oh yeah,
because the vitamin C.
It's the fruitiness, isn't it? Like sweet.
Seriously.
It must be, because it's like grapefruit smelling and the vitamin C. And
these wasps are chasing you.
If you got like a sugary drink, they'll always come to it, won't they? You know, in the summer you always see like a pint of orange squash with all wasps in it. And
but like, you know, L'Oreal wasp attractor for the face.
Yeah,
you would have thought that would be like taken off the shelf, or you know.
No, I mean, it kind of makes sense. I mean, it wasn't excessive, but I did notice there were more. I was like, why do they keep coming to my face? And I'm like, oh, they can smell that stuff. So, you can't blame it. It's just being a wasp, I guess.
I think wasps are like one of the only insects that humans are in agreement that they just will sting for no reason.
Yeah.
Like most other animals will attack if attacked.
Well, I mean, we think they do, but maybe we don't know. You might have thought, well, I didn't do anything, but maybe it felt threatened in some other way. I mean, maybe there's always a reason it stings you. Maybe. I mean,
it's got to be.
Can animals and insects get like schizophrenia, like, or something? Like, could a dog be schizophrenic?
Maybe they're just kind of aggressive. So, you know, it thinks that you're just like a threat, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You know, when you're close to it, and
it makes sense, but you know, animals must have mental illnesses too, like a dog.
I remember we had this cat, and it was a bit schizophrenic, so it had to be put down.
Schizophrenic cat.
Schizophrenic. So what would that entail if there was a schizophrenic cat?
Oh, I mean, I'm not enough.
What would it be like?
But
what would it be like?
Well, I'm just thinking what a person would be like.
Yeah, what would a person? So people are schizophrenic. So if a cat's schizophrenic, so it'd be like they're like, you know, licking itself, and then suddenly it would be mad.
Yeah.
But it kept attacking my brother's dog, who was an Alsatian. So it was a big Alsatian dog, and this cat, as soon as it saw it from miles away, it would charge and go Wah! Like on its back, like with its all arms sprawled out, attacking this dog.
Yeah.
Like manic. So we were like, you know, there's something, it's been like abused or something. That's what a lot of mental health, it's to do with upbringing, isn't it?
I think so.
I'm not 100% sure, like, you know, there's still unknown level of schizophrenia and things like that. Is it kind of...
Yeah, I don't go along with the general consensus that, you know, there's just a random chemical imbalance. I think in just most cases it's attributed to something traumatic. We don't know, you know, for example, is the schizophrenia caused by a chemical imbalance, or has the chemical imbalance been caused by the schizophrenia? No one actually knows. And so,
my friend told me about this guy in my friend in work told me about this guy, and it's like the man with 13 personalities, or 26 personalities, or something like that. But you know, a huge amount of personalities. Because he committed these murders, and then he didn't have any recollection of them. So in the court cases and things like that, and I mean, I didn't watch this documentary, but you know, it's available. I think it's like Netflix or whatever.
All right.
There's supposed to be this guy who can he'll become like a 9-year-old Scandinavian girl, and he'll be like a carpenter, and he'll know information that he won't know in other different times when he switches between these personalities.
Yeah, amazing.
So then you've got like a lawyer or a member of the court going, he's lying, of course he's lying, like this is impossible. But then you've got like psychologists studying him saying like, it's impossible how this is happening. Like, he's like got these different personalities, and when he comes through to his normal self, he's like, I don't know, I just blacked out for days.
Yeah.
And he's got all these multiple, and not multiple as in like 3 or 4, but like in the teens or in the 20s. Like I think it might be like 23. I know I've used 3 different numbers there, but
wow,
huge amount.
That's pretty intense. I know like multiple personality disorder exists, but never that many.
So what would I can understand if somebody's got like trauma or like, hatred for self, or the hard life and perception, or actual physical beating and things like that, like mental torture, whatnot. Yeah. That they'd want to hide away from there, and I can see how the mind would create a different perspective.
Yeah.
To get away from self therapy, or a way to.
Well, just to bring the cortisol levels down from the stress or something. Yeah, that makes sense. That does make sense. It could do that just as a escapism.
Yeah, it's like protection.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's fascinating.
But then for it to happen again, when you got like multiple, and and they were speaking to his family, his mother and his sister. Yeah. They were going like, we're just like a normal guy. Like, we wouldn't assume he would do this. It wasn't like he was raised in a troubled. Traditional serial killer. No. Because normally that is triggered by something, isn't it? Like being abused by their mother or something, and they're lacking love, and so they'll go out and they'll be a bit twisted. Yeah. It's usually linked to something like that, isn't it?
I don't doubt there's the odd one who is just born like it, but I think generally...
isn't it Jeffrey Dahmer or somebody like that? Like one of the most popular...
Well, he was gay and he was repressed, I mean...
Oh, okay, well it's not him then, it's somebody else who was just raised, and they thought he was just raised normally. Then he, like as a child, he started like killing animals and cutting them open.
That was Jeffrey Dahmer.
Oh, okay.
He did that, yeah.
Oh, right. So.
Yeah.
See, it would have been the gay suppression which made him.
I think that probably had something to do with it, because he was born in his family were very strict fundamentalist Christians, and so I mean. Like
so it could even be that, isn't it? The lack of like freedom, and if you're supposed to think like certain indoctrination, you got to think a certain way. And
the saying like, whatever's rejected from the self manifests itself in the world as an event.
Wow.
Yeah, which I think is true.
Well, if you look at like Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung and people like that, they'll talk about the conscious and unconscious.
Yeah.
So what's not accepted will be suppressed into the unconscious. So he's saying like therapy through active imagination and things like that, like self-therapy. Yeah. You're letting this part of you exist.
Yeah.
So it's it's satisfying to you.
Bringing it into the light a bit.
Yeah. Yeah. It's bringing conscious to the unconscious. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shining light into the darkness. These dark parts of you.
It's quite amazing. Yeah. It's amazing how many people just don't know about it.
It's something that should be encouraged to do. I mean, you could say like it's just something like you wanted a different life. You can imagine that through active imagination, through a form of like hypnotherapy, I suppose, to yourself, self-therapy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where you can satisfy these parts in the brain. It's like waking up from like an amazing dream or something. Like wow, and you're going to be in a good mood. Well, that was amazing. And it's because the brain doesn't know. It's going to think that it was real. And
I look at all these things like we're talking about, these illnesses and psychological conditions and people becoming murderers and blah. To me, it just seems like the consequence of if you're anything other than authentic, that you're going to pay the price in some way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's fascinating statement. And like,
what else could it entail? I mean,
so anything that we choose not to say something at some point because of society and manners, and like we go, oh, maybe I shouldn't say that. Yeah. We're suppressing something there.
Yeah.
And over time, that's going to build up and up and up. And if we don't, shine the light, go through this, look at a deeper part of ourselves, it's that stuff that's being suppressed.
Yeah. I know it's easy to say that, but like, if you're not like, if you don't tell the truth, then it has consequences.
So what was the statement that you made about being authentic? Say it again.
Oh, I can't remember. Just if you're anything other than authentic, I don't know what I said. There's going to be some sort of a price to pay, isn't there?
Yeah.
It's just like the obvious truth. It's the elephant in the room. It's like, yeah, there's been some inauthenticity here or something.
To have a breakthrough in humanity, man, we're going to have to realise things like that, and it's going to have to be talked about more and understood more and practiced more, because there's too much being suppressed. You know, where people are supposed to look a certain way, act a certain way, say everything the right way.
Yeah.
We're not encouraged to be authentic.
That's why I think it's, you know, if somebody, for example, does develop schizophrenia, it's so much easier just to go, oh yeah, he's got schizophrenia and we'll go and get him some medication, as though it's just like catching a cold. Or it's just, there's no real meaning to it, you know? It's just biology gone wrong, brain chemistry gone wrong, because the idea that you contributed to it in some way is a tough pill to swallow.
Talking about things going wrong, England have just started playing, and they've turned the volume on. And we're live in the exchange, so it's been amazing speaking to you, Jim.
Yeah.
This episode talking about criminals. Love you, man.
All sorts of weird things. Great to see you. And
Dolphin Podcast, just doing the first test episode.
Yeah.
In the exchange in Newtown on October the 12th, 2021. So we started this almost a year ago. Yeah.
We did in November. I think it'll be a year. 2 years. 2 years ago, not 1 year ago. And the battery's still holding out.
Yeah, the battery's done great, man.
Be fine.
It's been about an hour, so we'll call it an end now, seeing as we've been interrupted by...
Yeah. I hope England lose, but...
On that note...